Hey everybody, if you're joining me on the replay, thank you and welcome, and I'm glad you're here. It's Alyssa from Awaken Authenticity, and I posted a little bit about this last week, but I wanted to talk about it live and just kind of express some of my feelings and hear maybe some of what you're thinking. So the question is, what do you do when you're triggered? When something makes you angry, when something upsets you in some way, where is that hurt and defensiveness coming from, and what should you be doing about it? I want to make clear, first of all, that when you are triggered, hi, Laura Alex, when you're triggered by something that is related to something traumatic in your background, it's entirely normal and worth, removing yourself from those situations if you don't feel safe. This is something that I feel really strongly about, and it's also important to let the people around you know what kinds of things are triggering for you if they relate to past traumas, so that you can work through those traumas in a healthy way and you don't feel like you're put into that negative, scary space, anxiety causing space, unbidden and sort of like without your permission. That said, I think that there are plenty of other situations where we are triggered. We all of a sudden are like, what, that I don't agree, or I don't think so, or that makes me angry, or this gets my blood boiling for whatever reason. And I think that, if we already know what the trigger is, because it's something traumatic that like I've just talked about, that's one thing. But on the other hand, if there are plenty of things that trigger us and we don't necessarily know why they're so triggering, it might be something that a lot of our friends are into and we're just like, why are they so into it? I don't even understand. That's a place for you to grow. That is a place for you to do some serious self-reflection and figure out what it is that causes that really harsh, intense reaction. That is a growing spot. Those triggers are a place for you to grow, which is a gift. So, hey Sarah, hi, how you doing? The next time that you feel like someone is triggering you, or you feel upset or annoyed or whatever, do a little check-in for yourself. Kind of like remove yourself from this situation in the short term, don't respond, and do some self-reflection, whether that is journaling, whether that is talking to a therapist, whether that's talking to your friends or family, whether that is just sort of like thinking about what sort of situations in the past have made you feel that way, and if there's some sort of connection that you never even thought of before. If that's something that you have done, please tell me your story. I would love to hear your stories about things that you have been upset by in the past, and that you have had an epiphany of some sort surrounding that when you took the time. Hi, Andrea. So I wanted to tell you a little story for myself. For a really long time, I was not really into burlesque. At the performance art style of burlesque. When I moved to DC, I started doing a lot more. So the first time I was introduced to burlesque was as a teacher. Someone asked me to teach contortionism to burlesque people, and I was like, well, sure, why not? And then that was my first exposure to what burlesque was. And then when I came to DC, there's a thriving burlesque community here, and a lot of people found out that I was both a contortionist and a belly dancer. And so when they had their burlesque and variety shows, they realized I was one-stop shop. So they would hire me to be the variety part of the burlesque show. So I wasn't performing burlesque, but I was performing in shows with a lot of burlesque dancers. I've always been someone that's just like, you do you, no problem. You know, I'm over here in my world doing me, and, you know, especially in a gig situation, you take the gigs that you can until you reach a certain point where you might have other price restrictions or things like that, but that's a different story. Anyway, so for a long time I was dancing alongside burlesque performers, and I just found myself continually getting angry and annoyed and just sort of like, I don't know, I had something against it that I couldn't put my finger on. And so rather than just being like, okay, like on the surface, I'm like okay with this, and I'm okay with it to the point where I'm performing alongside these people, and several of them have become my friends, but like deep down, there's something that really bothers me about burlesque. Like, what is that about? And so I ended up taking a burlesque class. I ended up asking a lot of my burlesque friend performers why they did what they did, and I came away with a lot of knowledge. At the end, I realized, like, okay, yeah, burlesque is not something that I'm interested in doing, but I will defend it. It's not something that I feel called to be upset about anymore. Hey, David. Hi, Laura. It's not something that I feel like there's not something personally upsetting about burlesque to me anymore, because I took that time to kind of figure out what was upsetting about it to me, which is a personal thing. It doesn't matter the ins and outs of it. Another thing that I learned is that there are so many different reasons why people do it. Some of the things, some of the reasons that people perform burlesque are things that I completely flat out disagree with. And then other things like, why not, are like perfectly relevant in my worldview of why to do it. Hi, Jordana. So, you know, in my world, like you do things because why not? Like that, I love that reason. Anyway, so the point is, I would love to hear your story of being triggered and taking the time to learn something. And you might come up with the reflection that you were right. You might come back with the reflection that you were wrong, or you might come back with some sort of reflection that, hey Ken, that you may or may not have thought was possible. I don't know. But the point is, stop being so defensive. Start doing some self-reflection and share that with us. Yeah. Hey, Laura, your approaches remind me of The Completion Process by Teal Swan. Thanks. I'll look that up. I'm not familiar with that, which I'm reading right now. I think you're right on. You should check that book out if you don't know Teal. She's amazing. You're welcome. Thank you. I will definitely look that up. I appreciate it. Anyway, I hope you all have a marvelous day. And next time you're triggered, take a step back, do some self-reflection. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing in a completely public space, you're welcome to join Awaken Authenticity, which is a private group, Facebook group that I have that is a safe space for sharing these sorts of things. I would love to hear your reflections. Bye-bye, guys.